Hello, and you are back in the Velvet Room with Jokerthefool. This is our 65th episode, and today we'll be discussing AI uprooting social interactions and how politicians can only help themselves. So, we're going to jump right into this article from Forbes. Headline reads, How AI is Redefining Social Interactions in the Digital Age. Now, I've touched on this before, and I think I ought to touch on this again because in 2022, as this article states, 27% of Americans claim to interact with AI at least once a day. Now we're in 2024. I'm sure that number has gone up. I've talked a lot about how AI is a tool that it is a tool, and as any tool, it can be used to do great things. It can be abused to do bad things, and a lot of people are going to abuse the tool of AI to try and game social interaction in terms of engaging in social engineering and psyops, and people are also going to use it as a replacement for human interaction. So, first section of this article goes into chatbots as digital companions. And reads, advancements in conversational AI have led to the development of virtual companions and chatbots capable of simulating human emotions and responses. These AI-driven assistants streamline our digital interactions and simulate human-like conversations, making them feel more natural and intuitive. Of the people who have used a chatbot, 69% had a satisfying interaction, according to a study by Tidio, and 62% of customers said that they would use a chatbot when calling in for customer service, while 38% said they would rather wait for a human. So, in terms of some basic stuff like mimicking customer service and doing like help desk work for IT, chatbots are going to be able to work for that. And for a class of people who are as chronically single and lonely as I am, the AI chatbot girlfriends are going to be able to mimic human interaction enough where it's going to scratch that itch well enough, and it's certainly going to scratch it well enough to be good enough for the alternative, which is actually leaving the man cave of your mom's basement and being exposed to natural sunlight. So this is a concerning thing, is that this technology, in terms of having AIs interact with humans, is being used by corporations to make their customer service interactions better, to make stuff like Copilot and ChatGPT and all these other sorts of things work for business-related tasks, and all that information that's being gathered and collected for that is going to be able to trickle out and extrapolate for these chatbot companions, right? So, virtual relationships cannot replace the depth and complexity of human connections. They offer a unique avenue for companionship and emotional fulfillment, particularly from individuals who suffer from social anxiety or face other barriers to in-person interactions, right? And that's the key point, is that these people who are using AI chatbots are people who have already checked out of face-to-face, meaningful human social interaction. And instead of saying, like, well, I have this severe deficit in my life where I can't interact with people, I'm just going to go and have an AI chatbot girlfriend or boyfriend. Anybody can be lonely and want to have that companionship, right? And it can mimic. It can be, a feisty redhead. It can be a dumb blonde. It can be a mature woman who's a professor at a university. It can be a himbo. It can be any person you can think of that you would want to sit down and have a conversation with to feel less lonely. These chatbots are going to be able to emulate, and if you're used to your life being through screens and only interacting through online, which is a lot of people around my age, I'm 25 and younger, chronically and terminally online people are going to very much well adapt to using AI to replace social interaction. So that's a concerning thing. Another concerning thing is the matchmaking and dating apps, and the fact that these AI are going to basically make these algorithms even more toxic and machining human social interaction. I think this is where the psyop stuff pulls in as well, along with social media and friendship networks having AI examine dating app trends and social media algorithms, and using those to affect and change things in a very much a time frame and degree, and with all these factors that humans never could. It's a very concerning thing. So I'll have this article linked below so you can go through, but the whole thing is that, like I said, AI is a tool. And I do think it's a tool that enough people are going to use for good, meaningful things, that it's going to weigh out all these negative things that people are going to do with it. And it's going to be individuals who are going to be greedy and opportunistic, and these big corporations. Corporations like Match Group that run all the dating apps are going to be using AI to game their algorithms. You're going to have Facebook or Meta, Google, Microsoft. They're already invested in AI. They're going to invest in AI even more, so they can always be on top of the algorithms, make them as addicting as possible, get as much people on these algorithms as possible, drive people to the right content to keep them hooked. It's a very concerning thing, but I do think the knowledge and awareness of what AI can do in the positive and the negative is the only way we're going to make it through. But with that, hopefully you stuck through me. Very much appreciative if you have. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. We're heading into the second article. The archive of this will be linked below. It's from Vox. The headline reads, Congress can't get anything done except on foreign aid. So this article is basically covering how the let's see, is that you've got USAID. This is basically the group, the organization that does a lot. It's USAID that pushes a lot of foreign aid, and most of the foreign aid goes to these big groups that don't even operate inside of the countries that they claim to help, and they want to get more funding into these local groups, right? And that's the idea of this bill, and it's the one that's actually getting some play because it has to do with foreign aid, as in politicians sending money to foreign countries that inevitably gets laundered, and it all ends up enriching themselves, right? This is the way that I view it. This is the way that a lot of people view it. I mean, you look at all the money that's gone to Ukraine, how much has ended up across the border in cash is a very concerning thing. You've also got the fact that anytime the government uses taxpayer money and gives it out to people en masse, it's rife for being used by fraudsters. This is what happened during the COVID era nonsense, when they were handing out money left and right to anyone whose business or life was affected by COVID. You had people who put in falsified information, fraudulent claims, and they got massive payouts from the state. And I wouldn't be surprised if this law passes and it gives more overhead for these smaller groups, that they don't just come up with expenses so that way they can say, hey, we're doing 15% on our overhead, like you said. So, and all of it's meaningless nonsense, and you have this gap in accounting that ends up in somebody's bank account when it should have been helping these poor and impoverished countries. Which, again, the other alternative is to keep having these big groups that don't even operate in the countries that they claim to help, getting the money, and then it gets laundered and passed around to other people. And we're talking billion-dollar amounts. The agency that we're talking about, USA, distributed $38.8 billion in fiscal year 2022, or about $30 billion excluding Ukraine aid. But only 10.2% of the funds went to local partners. So the actual small organizations that are doing the charitable work, the things that they could actually use foreign aid money for, only 10.2% of the money is actually going there. And of that money, who knows how much is being taken off the top and being given to, the big guy, or all these sorts of things. So these things are rife for fraud. And this is one of the only things that's passing through Congress, is something that has to do with foreign aid, because these politicians just love just throwing money at people. And it's like, oh, well, we can throw money at people like this. And then also, if they pass this bill, it's like, hey, we made it easier for these smaller advocate organizations to receive foreign aid, so we're good people, pat ourselves on the back. And meanwhile, if this bill even passes, it's not going to meaningfully change anything. And that's what I really want to emphasize here, is that anytime the state proposes some sort of solution or is trying to fix a problem, they're usually trying to fix a problem that they either created or made worse. And the issue here is foreign aid, right? If we want to help foreign countries, that's something the private market could do perfectly well. But if you're a private company or organization, you have to operate through the state in order to be able to do these sorts of things. And you're usually operating with multiple states. If you're someone who's based in the US and you want to do something in, like, let's say the Democratic Republic of the Congo or South Sudan or some country in Africa, you want to do foreign aid, you have to either go with a group like a Doctors Without Borders or the I forget what it is. I don't know. You have like UNICEF. You have I forget. It was founded by JFK, but all these organizations are either state ran or big private nonprofits. Stuff like the Red Cross, where you have to work through them, or the Peace Corps is what I'm thinking. Like, you have to go through a Peace Corps, you have to go through someone like them, and all this paperwork and all this stuff that you have to do, all this legal tape, where if all that was removed, it'd be a lot easier for the people who actually want to help people who are genuinely in poverty-stricken regions of the world and this country to get that help that they need to distribute it well. But you have all this red tape of the state, and a lot of that red tape is just there to redirect funds to people who don't at all need them. And that's part of the design, is that the state is used to enrich the people who control it. And that's a fundamental thing, is that once people get power, they use it to enrich themselves and their friends so they can maintain and expand that power. And that's the state doing what the state does. And I think with that, I'm going to end it here. Thank you for listening to this one. I hope you enjoyed it. And we're heading into the outro now. Thank you for being in the Velvet Room with Joker the Fool. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, whether you're listening on YouTube, Rumble, Odyssey, or Substack. And be sure to subscribe to my Substack, velvetroompublishing.substack.com, to keep up with Machine to Man and all my other projects.